Have you ever noticed how the kindest people are often the quietest when they are hurting? Not because they feel less, but because somewhere along the way, they learned something dangerous. That pain should be hidden. That needs are inconvenient. That love must be earned. Maybe this has happened to you. You stayed awake for someone, listened for hours, reassured them, told them everything would be okay, even while your own heart was quietly falling apart. And then, one day, you needed someone too. Not forever. Not even for long. Just one night. One conversation. One moment of being held together, instead of always being the one holding everyone else together.
It's just so overwhelming.
So you sent the message.
I understand. Take your
Simple.
time. But I feel
Small.
so much lighter
Maybe
talking
even
to you.
hesitant.
Here, take this
Hey,
blanket.
are you free?
Thank you.
Seen. No
You're
reply.
welcome.
You told yourself. They must be busy. That's okay. You waited. Hours passed. Then days. And suddenly something inside you hurt in a way you couldn't explain. Because it wasn't really about the message. Was it? No. It was the realization. The painful, quiet realization that some people only knew how to find you when they needed warmth, advice, comfort, understanding. But when you finally reached for the same thing, their hands were nowhere to be found. And maybe this is the moment kind people know too well. The moment when you sit alone and think, was I ever important? Or was I just useful? Well, that question hurts.
I told you
Not
to
loudly.
leave it there.
Quietly,
It doesn't matter. Just
like
pick it
rain
up.
leaking through a ceiling.
I'm tired
Slow.
of this.
Invisible. Until one day, everything feels heavy. At some point in life, almost every deeply kind person learns the same heartbreaking lesson. The people you would have sacrificed sleep for, sometimes will not sacrifice 5 minutes for you. And somehow, that hurts more than betrayal. Because betrayal is obvious. This is confusing. Because these are often people you love, people you defended, people you understood, people you forgave. Again. And again. And again. You tell yourself, maybe I expect too much. Maybe I'm too emotional. Maybe this is what love looks like. But listen carefully. Because this matters. Love was never meant to feel like exhaustion. Connection was never meant to feel like performance. And kindness, real kindness, was never supposed to cost you yourself. Maybe nobody ever told you this. Maybe you grew up learning something very different.
Comfort us.
Maybe you learned that
Please.
being
I'm here.
good
We
meant
need
staying
you.
quiet,
Thank you.
being understanding, being low maintenance, being easy to love. Maybe, without realizing it, you became the child who apologized first. The child who tried not to be difficult. The child who learned how to read moods before reading their own feelings. Some children learn very early that peace is fragile. So they become peacekeepers. Not because they want to, because they have to. Psychologist Gabor Mate once said something deeply painful but deeply true. Children will sacrifice authenticity for attachment. In simple words, a child would rather abandon themselves than risk losing love.
okay.
Think about that for a second. A child learns. If I stay quiet,
Thank
people
you.
stay calmer. If I help,
I don't know
people
what
love
to
me
do.
more.
Shh,
If I
it's
become
okay.
easy,
I'm
maybe
so
nobody
lost.
leaves.
Just
And
breathe.
so, without
I'm
even
here.
noticing, that child becomes an adult who struggles to say no. An adult who feels guilty for resting. An adult who explains boundaries. An adult who says, it's okay. Even when nothing feels okay. And maybe, that adult is you. Maybe you are the person people describe as so nice, so patient, so understanding. But what nobody sees is how tired you are. The emotional exhaustion. The invisible loneliness.
I've been
The nights when your mind whispers,
I remember.
why do I always care more? Why do I always try harder? Why does nobody love the way I love? There is a kind of heartbreak that happens when you realize you have spent years showing up for people who only knew how to show up for themselves. And the worst part, kind people rarely get angry immediately. First, they make excuses. They're stressed. They didn't mean it. They're probably tired. They've been through a lot.
I saw
And
your
maybe that
message.
sounds beautiful,
I'm on my way.
compassionate, mature. But sometimes, compassion becomes self-abandonment. Sometimes understanding others becomes a way of never protecting yourself. There comes a moment, usually late at night, when kind people ask themselves a terrifying question. What if the reason I'm exhausted is because I keep pouring into people who only know how to receive? That question changes something. Because suddenly, you start remembering things. Small things. Painful things. The birthday nobody remembered. The long voice messages you listened to, but nobody listened back. The time you dropped everything to help someone, only to hear, "Sorry, I'm busy." When it was finally your turn to need support. The friend who called only when life was falling apart, but disappeared once things got better. The relationship where you kept understanding, until one day, you realize nobody had been trying to understand you. And maybe the saddest part is how
I'm here for
normal
you,
this
don't
became.
worry.
You got used to disappointment,
I know, thank you.
got used to waiting,
Just one more minute.
got used to shrinking, got used to saying, "It's fine," even when your heart quietly whispered no, it isn't. There's a sentence from Brené Brown that many people carry with them. She says, "Choose discomfort over resentment." At first, that sentence sounds simple. But if you've spent years people-pleasing, it feels terrifying. Because discomfort means saying, "No, I can't. That hurt me. I need rest. I don't agree." And if you are deeply kind, those words can feel dangerous. Because maybe, some part of you still fears, if I stop being easy, will people still love me? And maybe, that is where the real pain begins. Not when people disappoint you, but when you realize how much of yourself you abandoned, just to keep people comfortable. At some point, kind people stop asking, "Why am I hurting?" and begin asking something even more painful.
I was thinking the
Why
same
does this
thing.
keep happening to me?
Let's go this way.
Why do I keep ending up in one-sided friendships? Why do I keep attracting people who take, but rarely give? Why do I somehow
how do
become
I?
everyone's safe place,
Huh.
while
me see.
secretly
I'll
feeling
just
like I have
explain.
none?
No, too much.
And maybe,
Right, that's better.
you have wondered this too. Quietly. Ashamed to even admit it. Because kind people are rarely taught to question relationships. They are taught to endure them. To understand more. To be patient longer. To forgive deeper. To try harder. But sometimes, trying harder is exactly what keeps the wound open. There is something nobody tells deeply empathetic people. People can feel your softness. Not always consciously. But they feel it. They notice. You forgive quickly. You hesitate to disappoint people. You over-explain boundaries. You feel guilty for saying no. You care deeply. And little by little, some people begin expecting things from you that they would never expect from themselves. Not because they are monsters. Not because they plan to hurt you. But because humans adjust to what is allowed. And if you keep saying, "It's okay," eventually, People
Okay.
stop
We
asking
can
if it
discuss
actually
this another
is.
time. Take care.
There is an old lesson life teaches gently at first, and painfully later. If you always make yourself available, people begin treating your presence like free oxygen. Important, but invisible. Expected, not appreciated. And maybe this has happened to you. Maybe someone called you at midnight when their life was falling apart. And you stayed. Even when you had work in the morning. Even when you were exhausted. Even when your own anxiety had been quietly eating you alive. Because that is what kind people do. They show up. Even while breaking. But then, months later, you had your own difficult night. The kind where your chest feels heavy. The kind where silence suddenly feels loud. The kind where you just needed one person to say, "I'm here." So you reached out. And somehow they were unavailable. Busy. Distracted. Gone. And suddenly, something painful clicked. You remembered every time you made space for people who never learned how to make space for you. That realization can break your heart a little. Not because people failed you, but because you finally stopped lying to yourself. And truth hurts before it heals. Psychologist Pete Walker talks about something called the fawn response. But let's forget the psychology words for a second. In real life, it looks like this. You smile when something hurts. You agree when you want to disagree. You stay quiet to avoid tension. You become whoever people need. Because conflict feels terrifying. Not because you are weak. Because somewhere in life, your nervous system learned. Keeping people happy feels safer than losing them. And maybe, this explains something you never understood about yourself. Why criticism hurts more than it should. Why disappointing people feels unbearable. Why rejection feels bigger than the moment itself. Because for some kind people, love never felt secure. Love felt conditional. Love felt like, be good, be helpful, be calm, be easy. Do not ask for too much. Do not be difficult. Do not become a burden. And maybe, without realizing it, you started carrying that rule into adulthood. You became the person who says yes, while secretly hoping someone would notice the sacrifice. Not because you wanted attention, because deep down, you hoped love would finally feel safe. There is something heartbreaking about the way kind people often love. They love with patience, with loyalty, with forgiveness, with effort. Sometimes, too much effort. And here is a painful truth many people learn late. When someone benefits from your lack of boundaries, your healing may feel inconvenient to them. Read that again. Because this changes lives. When you finally start saying, "I can't today. I need space. That hurt me." Some people will not celebrate your growth. They will call you changed, cold, distant, different. But often, what they really mean is, you are no longer easy to access. You are no longer easy to drain. And yes, that hurts. Especially when you spent years believing kindness meant endless sacrifice. But there comes a point
Here, have some tea,
where
little
exhaustion becomes a teacher. Where heartbreak becomes clarity.
one. Wow.
Where
You
loneliness
remember.
finally whispers enough.
You can hold it. It's
Enough
not too
abandoning
hot.
yourself.
It's just right.
Enough chasing people who only love convenience. Enough confusing being needed with being valued. At some point, life teaches kind people something difficult. You cannot heal people by hurting yourself. You cannot save relationships alone. You cannot love someone hard enough to make them care. And perhaps, this is the hardest lesson of all. Some people were only comfortable loving The version of you that had no boundaries. The version that always said yes. The version that tolerated too much. The version that stayed quiet. But healing changes people. Slowly. Quietly. Almost invisibly. One day, you stop over-explaining. One day you stop apologizing for basic needs. One day, you realize something strange. The people who genuinely love you do not punish you for resting. They do not punish you for honesty. They do not disappear when you finally stop over-giving. In fact, real love often becomes clearer when performance ends. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And maybe, for deeply kind people, that journey begins here. Not by becoming colder. Not by becoming selfish. But by finally asking, who am I when I stop performing kindness for survival? Who am I when I stop shrinking? Who am I when I stop begging for love through sacrifice? Those questions hurt. But they heal too. Because healing often starts with grief. The grief of realizing how much of yourself you lost trying to keep people comfortable. The grief of realizing you deserved better long before you learned how to ask for it. And maybe tonight, if nobody has told you this
You're
lately,
safe now. We understand.
let me tell you something gently. You were never hard to love. You were just surrounded by people who got too comfortable receiving what they never learned to return. And that is not your fault. But healing becomes your responsibility. Not because you caused the wound, because you deserve peace. Real peace. The kind that does not require you to disappear. There comes a moment, quietly, almost invisibly, when a deeply kind person becomes tired. Not angry. Not bitter. Just tired. Tired of overthinking. Tired of always reaching out first. Tired of being the emotional home for people who never learned how to hold space in return. And maybe, you know this kind of tired. The kind sleep does not fix. The kind coffee does not touch. The kind where your body feels present, but your heart feels exhausted. You still smile. Still reply. Still care. But something inside whispers, I can't keep doing this. And maybe that whisper is not weakness. Maybe it is wisdom finally arriving. Because there comes a day when pain stops feeling dramatic and starts feeling familiar. And that is dangerous. When disappointment becomes normal. When loneliness becomes routine. When self-sacrifice starts feeling like personality. There is something heartbreaking about how long kind people wait before finally choosing themselves. Some wait years. Some wait decades. Some never do. Because choosing yourself, after a lifetime of choosing everyone else, feels terrifying. It feels selfish. Wrong. Unnatural. And maybe that fear makes sense. Because if love once depended on your usefulness, then boundaries feel dangerous. They feel like risk. Like rejection. Like abandonment. But here is something life teaches eventually. The people who only loved your endless availability may not understand your healing. And that hurts. Because some of those people matter to you. Some of them are friends, family, partners, people you hoped would understand. But healing changes relationships. Sometimes softly, sometimes painfully. There is a sentence many people only understand after heartbreak. Not everyone loses access to you because you changed. Sometimes they lose access to the version of you that never had limits. And those are very different things. Maybe this sounds familiar. You finally say, I can't today. And suddenly, someone becomes distant. You finally admit, that hurt me. And somehow, you become too sensitive. You stop overgiving, and someone calls you cold. Different, changed. But maybe, for the first time, you are simply becoming honest. There is a quiet kind of courage in disappointing people. Not cruelly. Not carelessly. But honestly. Especially if you spent your whole life trying not to upset anyone. Brené Brown once said something that feels painfully true here. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others. Think about that. Maybe boundaries were never selfish. Maybe boundaries are love. Love for your nervous system. Love for your peace. Love for the exhausted version of you who spent years surviving. There is a story many kind people know, maybe you know it too. One day, you stop texting first. Just to see what happens. Not as a game. Not to punish anyone. Just to rest. To breathe. To stop carrying everything. And then, silence. Days pass. Weeks pass, and suddenly, something painful becomes clear. Some connections survive them, only because you carried them. That realization hurts. It really hurts. Because grief arrives. The grief of what you thought was mutual. The grief of effort never returned. The grief of realizing you were watering plants that were never growing. And maybe, for a while, that grief feels lonely. Because healing is lonely at first. Nobody talks about that part enough. Healing is beautiful, eventually. But first, it feels empty. Because when people-pleasing ends, quiet begins.
It's just so overwhelming.
You stop over-explaining.
Take your time.
Stop rescuing.
But I feel so
Stop
much lighter
chasing.
talking to you.
Stop
Here,
abandoning
take
yourself.
this blanket.
And suddenly,
Thank
there is
you.
space.
You're welcome.
Space can feel unfamiliar. Even uncomfortable. But sometimes empty space is not loneliness. Sometimes, it is peace arriving quietly. There is a moment many kind people experience. A strange moment. Someone asks for too much. Again. And the old version of you immediately wants to say yes. Your chest tightens. Guilt arrives. Fear whispers, what if they leave? What if they're upset? What if they stop loving me? And then, something new happens. Something small. But life-changing. You pause. You breathe. And instead of abandoning yourself, you tell the truth. Maybe softly. Maybe shakily. Maybe for the first time. I can't. No giant explanation. No guilt speech. No emotional essay. Just truth. And maybe
tired of this.
your hands shake afterward. Maybe guilt shows up. Maybe anxiety screams. Because healing feels uncomfortable before it feels safe. But something else arrives too. Something unfamiliar. Relief. Tiny at first. Then stronger. Because for the first time, you protected your peace, instead of sacrificing it. And maybe, that small moment changes everything. Because self-respect grows quietly. Not loudly. Not dramatically. In tiny moments. Tiny honest moments. The moment you stop apologizing for resting. The moment you stop shrinking. The moment you stop begging people to stay. The moment you finally understand. If love requires self-erasure, it is not love. Real love does not ask you to disappear. Real love does not punish honesty. Real love does not demand exhaustion as proof. The people who truly care will care about your tiredness too.
Me.
They will
Help
ask,
us.
how are you
Please.
really?
I'm here.
And wait. Not
We
rush.
need you.
Not
Thank
interrupt.
you.
Wait. They will notice when your smile looks heavy. They will not only love your giving, they will love your being. And until those people arrive, there is someone who desperately needs your kindness. You. The version of you who stayed too long, forgave too much, explained too much, cried quietly, smiled while breaking. The version of you who believed love had to be earned. Maybe tonight, that version of you needs compassion. Not shame. Not judgment. Compassion. Because maybe you were never weak. Maybe you were simply trying to survive, trying to stay loved, trying to stay chosen, trying to stay safe. And there is nothing shameful about that. But healing asks something new from you. Not, how do I make everyone happy? But, what happens if I stop abandoning myself? That question changes lives. And maybe, this is the lesson kind people were never taught.
Okay.
You do
We
not
can
have to
discuss
stop
this another
being
time.
soft.
Take care.
The world already has enough coldness, but softness, without boundaries, becomes self-destruction. So stay kind. Stay gentle. Stay loving. But stay with yourself too. Protect your peace. Protect your energy. Protect the quiet places inside your heart. Because your kindness is precious. And precious things deserve protection. One day, you will look back at the person you used to be. The one who said yes while hurting. The one who waited for people who never came. The one who mistook being needed for being loved. And instead of anger, you will feel tenderness. Because they were trying. Trying so hard. Trying to be enough. Trying to deserve love. Trying not to lose people. And maybe for the first time, you will whisper something that younger version of you needed to hear long ago. You do not have to earn love. You do not have to bleed for belonging. You do not have to disappear to be worthy. You already are. And if nobody has told you lately, let Blissful Journey remind you of something tonight. You are allowed to rest. Allowed to say no. Allowed to protect your peace. Allowed to stop carrying everyone. Allowed to be loved, without proving your worth first. And maybe tonight, before sleep finds you, take a deep breath. Put the weight down, just for a moment. You do not have to fix anyone right now. You do not have to save anyone tonight. Tonight, just come back to yourself. Slowly. Gently. Like someone finally coming home. Because healing does not begin when people finally love you better. It begins the moment you decide to stop abandoning yourself, and maybe that moment can begin tonight.